At what point did you think, man, you really live like this? I went to my friend's dorm after she warned me that it was really messy, and I realized it was nothing compared to my mess. Honestly, it was a signal for change for me. I visited a friend who had only one bathroom on the first floor. In his room, he had pee bottles that he used at night because he was too lazy to go to the bathroom. 2-liter bottles of urine were just lying around the room. One time, I visited a guy the first knew from middle school with my friend, who was still in touch with him. We were about 19 to 20 years old. He had just moved in, but there was already a small pile of stinky dishes and a sweaty smell because he was playing the VR music game Beat Saber, which requires a lot of movement. When we were leaving, I needed to use the bathroom quickly, and I said, "I'll just use your bathroom for a minute." And when I headed there, his reaction was, what awaited me behind that, still haunts me. Urine stains on the floor, pubic hair on the sink, and the smell of moldy laundry. He lived there less than a month. He had never worked a day in his life and played online slots. He often posted about winning around $2,000, and less than a week later, he was asking for $20 for food on Snapchat. A couple of years later, he messaged me asking to borrow 10 euros for a pack of cigarettes, saying he'd pay me back in 5 days when he got his social welfare check. 5 days later, I asked him about the money. He read the message, but completely ignored me. He didn't delete me or anything, just ignored me. I told another friend who knew him and some mutual acquaintances, and they said I wouldn't see those 10 euros again. It turned out he borrowed money from many people and owed one friend over 500 euros. I almost feel sorry for him, but if he had a brain, he wouldn't have made many of those mistakes. I've been a paramedic for 25 years. What I've seen cannot be unseen, and it has nothing to do with emergency medical care. I have a friend who just doesn't clean. This isn't a one-time thing. There are many such situations. His apartment has an incredible amount of plates with leftover food. The fact that this is plural already means a lot in my understanding. Once, I saw him put one of them in a drawer just to free up space. Why? Besides, he clearly never cleans the toilet, so I no longer dare sit on it. The seat is broken and taped up. No hand soap, no towel hooks. They just lie on the edge of the sink. No toilet paper holder. No paper towels, no kitchen towels. And when all this is missing, I constantly think, why don't you just buy these things? You need them, don't you? The kitchen is full of dirty dishes, and he washes them only as needed. And even then, he does a poor job. His glasses are just, I don't even know how to describe them, but they certainly can't be called clean. His stove is always dirty, as is the refrigerator, and once I saw greasy spots on it, from sauce or something similar. Several weeks later, when I came back, the spots were still there. I just don't understand why he doesn't wipe everything immediately. I love this guy, and we trust each other a lot. But the last time I visited him, after several years of lockdowns, I was very disappointed that nothing had changed, while in many other ways, he had grown up a lot. Needless to say, I prefer that he comes to us rather than us to him. Once in college, a guy living down the hall proudly showed everyone a huge semen stain under his desk, where he had apparently ejaculated all year. The sad thing was that his poor roommate was a very kind and quiet person. My buddy had a kid with some girl who was just as lazy as him. There were piles of diapers in every corner of their apartment, and the smell was corresponding. He also used chewing tobacco, which was scattered all over the carpet and bed. I don't really hang out with him much anymore. I once had a friend, an Arab exchange student. One day, she complained that her father didn't send her money on time for her tuition. Meanwhile, she was getting $10,000 a month for expenses from her father, $2,000 for the apartment she was renting, and the rest for food and whatever she wanted. On top of all that, he also paid for her education. This was around 2014, 2015. When I was 17, I visited a girl. She and her mom smoked right in the room we were in, and they dropped the ashes on the carpet. Apparently, I looked surprised because her mom said, "Don't worry, we rent it." I worked on a 50-meter super yacht where the dining chairs were the most disgusting, each costing $55,000, but I wouldn't pay $5 for one. But it really opened my eyes to how rich people live. I'm a heating and air conditioning technician, so I'm in other people's homes every day, from very rich to poor people. I've seen hoarders and slobs, but the worst was a house that looked like 6 cats got together and bought a place, then let an old man live with them if he would sit in the corner and lay out food. It was absolutely disgusting. Cat litter and poop were scattered literally everywhere in the house. I almost left, and I would have if not for the frozen heating coil because the filter was clogged with fur. I felt sorry for the old man. He obviously had mental health issues. A girl I was dating wanted me to visit her parents. When I walked in, there were boxes of stuff everywhere. I said, "Oh, I didn't know you just moved." They had moved a long time ago. When you visit anyone with a pet, but they don't vacuum at least once a week. My wife's sister and her husband lived in her father's house. They were recluses and only came out of their room to eat and use the bathroom. After a domestic violence incident, he was killed by the police, suicide by cop, and she was hospitalized for 2 to 3 months. My wife and father-in-law entered her room for the first time in several months to clean it up and make it livable for her after her discharge. The floor was knee-deep in mess, and in some places, mid-thigh deep. The room reeked of cigarettes, old food, and sweat. There were piles of adult toys, clothes, half-used medications, unfinished sodas, etc. It was madness. My ex literally lives in his room. He has a mini fridge, a TV on the wall above his computer, a closet full of snacks, and a bathroom with a tub, a full-wall mirror, and 2 sinks. He also has game consoles, a fish tank, a plant he takes care of, and a double bed. The guy literally lives like a king. I swore that someday I would live like that. Now I have my own place, so I just need, everything listed above. I'm getting closer to living like a queen. I went into a man's room who was renting a place in my house, a separate unit attached to the main house. There were piles of trash, food containers, half-empty soda glasses. He hadn't swept or mopped the floor in the entire 2 years he'd been living there. A nightmare mess. Some hoarding-level crap. I was in shock, disgust, and fury. Needless to say, I kicked him out. A 56-year-old man-child. My ovaries shriveled up. Just what a roach apocalypse. When I was in my early 20s, I delivered pizza in rural New Hampshire on the border with Massachusetts, an area that wasn't economically stable. I saw it all. Homes where, as soon as I opened the door, I was hit by a mixture of cigarette smoke, cat urine, dirty dog, old grease, mold, and other less recognizable odors. Trash everywhere. Often big trash bags standing outside, clearly not new. Many with noticeable rodent holes. Seas of empty packaging, every surface covered in cigarette ash, and unidentifiable stains and crusts. Yards overgrown with knee-high grass, littered with junk, broken cars, and household appliances, dog poop, and sun-faded toys. The floors seemed disturbingly sticky when I stepped inside, and the walls showed signs of dampness. And that's not even half of it. Rural poverty and the accompanying despair are a quick path to the bottom of human existence. I went to a chick's house and opened her refrigerator, and it was full of rotting food. She said it was Thanksgiving leftovers that she hadn't thrown out yet, and she didn't use the refrigerator often. My friend's brother's apartment, an example. When he finishes eating pizza, he throws the box, and possibly the leftovers, behind the couch. There was a meter-high pile of trash behind his couch. So you can imagine how much trash is in his apartment now. Back when the real estate agency Foxtons allowed homeowners to sell apartments on a buy-owner basis, and their system handled advertising and appointments, I spotted an old Victorian house in a decent suburb that was surprisingly cheap. When I walked in, I understood why. There were stacks of newspapers, magazines, etc., and only a few pathways left throughout the house. There were visible leaks and similar things everywhere. The woman owner who showed us the house apologized for the mess, saying they were preparing to move, but it was obvious it was a hoarding problem, not packing. Then we got to a room that was locked, and she told us it was her husband's, and she didn't have the key, so we couldn't inspect the room. As we continued the tour, she mentioned that she was homeschooling her children. At that moment, I realized that children were living in this environment, and both parents were likely mentally unstable. I still wonder if I should have called Child Protective Services to check everything out. When I was in 6th grade, I first visited a new friend. We walk into the house. Friend, Mom, we're home. Mom comes around the corner. Oh my, it's so great to finally meet you. He's told me so much about you. Hugs me. How are you? Me? I'm good. Mom, are you hungry? I was just about to make us a snack. Dad, come meet our son's friend. Dad comes out. Hey kid, nice to meet you. Shakes my hand. Guys, if you want, I can take you to fun place later to have some pizza. Mom, giggling. Boys, go play in your room. I'll bring you something to eat. I was stunned. They were so nice to me and to each other. Later, I mentioned it to my friend, and he apologized because they're so awkward. My parents, if they were in the same room, couldn't go without at least insulting each other. I really hope my friend's parents are still married and insanely happy. Watch other videos on our channel.